Hi, I'm Dr. Syra. I wanted to talk to you about something a little bit different today. And I'm not usually one for props. However, let me tell you a story. I was in the garden today, and actually my neighbor's garden. So they're out of town. And whenever they go out of town, I get the opportunity to pick vegetables when it's the fall. And I love that because my neighbor grows the most delicious vegetables, and I get the chance to pick them, and then our family gets to eat them. And so I was out there picking the tomatoes and the cucumbers, and then I was about to walk away, and I noticed out of the corner of my eye a zucchini. And the thing about zucchinis is if you kind of forget about them, it shows. So here's the regular zucchini that I picked a few days ago. Okay, so this is the size of a regular zucchini. It's kind of what you'd buy in a store. And this is the one I found this morning. Are you ready? It's like bigger than my head. So yeah, these are the zucchinis. This is what I found this morning. Now this one was actually hidden under a whole pile of leaves, and it was just sitting there, resting, relaxing, doing its thing. And seeing the zucchini inspired me for making this video today. And let me tell you why. So this zucchini reminds me of forgotten issues. Okay, so we have this inner landscape, and some of us are very familiar with our inner landscape. We're walking around, we know what's what, we know where the sticky spots are, we know where the easy trails are, and some of us actually don't really explore our inner landscape at all. And I find that as a therapist, I find that like really problematic. People who just don't even care or are interested in their inner space. And so this zucchini kind of reminded me of what happens when you just kind of neglect or forget or take too long to visit the internal space. And the way that this came up for me was a conversation that I had earlier this week with a friend. And I have these really incredible friendships where we get a chance to talk about really meaningful, deep things, and also know how to have some fun and know how to be lighthearted. And we were joking around, and at one point my friend asked me, he said, there's something about you that I've noticed. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, there's something about you where you feel bad when you're having fun. You feel guilty to have fun. And I sat with that and I thought about it a little bit. And as I thought about it, these emotions started coming up in me. These emotions of grief started coming up in me. And that for me was my giant zucchini, right? So there was this thing that I had forgotten, this thing that I hadn't really paid attention to in my own experience. And for me, that was being a child of immigrant parents. We did have fun. Like there was fun, absolutely. But fun was more about when family got together, that's when the chance for fun was. And so I shared that with my friend. I said, yeah, like really we had fun when there was gatherings. But if it was just, us in our house, there wasn't like a lot of like lightness and playfulness and fun. My mom was a single mom. She was working really hard and there was a lot to do. And so, yeah, I don't really remember just fun and playfulness as part of my identity. And so this zucchini for me was this like forgotten wound that I haven't paid attention to in a really long time. I haven't even thought about it. I haven't even like cared about it or gone looking for it. I just didn't even really know it was there. And it was growing and growing and growing. And it got to this critical point where my friend noticed it and pointed it out. Now, one of two things could have happened at that moment, right? I could have denied it and be like, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fun. Like fun's great and whatever. But what I did instead was I went in, right? I went in and I actually looked. I looked around and said, oh, is there something forgotten here that's needing to be harvested, that's needing to be looked at, and that actually might create something quite nutritious for me if I was willing to look at it, right? So that's what I wanted us to think about today is what are some of the forgotten zucchinis in your garden, right? Some of the places where things have just been growing and growing and kind of left unattended for a really long time. And maybe you're starting to notice them, and maybe you're needing to harvest them, and maybe they're heavy and they've grown way beyond their reasonable size, but it's time to take a look and actually acknowledge what's there. When we do that, when we actually, harvest it and look at it and do something with it, and what my friend Texas talks about, the transmutation of energy, right? So it's like there's this wound, right, that's been forgotten. I look at it and now it becomes actually food for my soul. It becomes a reminder to myself of how life could be if I hadn't forgotten this wounded part of me. And I find the point is not to like find every wound and like look at every problem either, right? That's not what I'm talking about. Here I'm talking about when things come to our awareness, to actually take a look at them and be willing to get curious about them rather than denying it, or doing the spiritual bypass. You're like, oh no, now I'm a different person now, and da da da. But actually saying, oh wow, there's this like big thing that I didn't even know was there, and I'm noticing it now. So could I have a look and actually see what the value is? So when I had that conversation, and it was quite emotional for me, I had a bit of a cry right in our conversation, and felt the sadness of the loss of all those years of fun and playfulness, and that it made room in me. I could breathe again. That made permission in me to bring fun back in a new way, right? In a way that's not rooted in old belief systems. Because the other thing the zucchini represents to me is unexamined beliefs, right? There might be these unexamined beliefs that are just kind of growing and growing, and they're just there, and they're starting to take over the garden, and you don't even notice them until you take a look. So that's my thoughts. And I know it's a bit of a quicker one today, but I just needed to show you that giant zucchini and tell you what it made me think about. There's this rich landscape internally, and we can avoid it, and we can get busy, and we can just do our day to day. But if we take a minute and pay attention, there might be some really, really incredible, incredibly nourishing surprises that are hidden there in our inner space. And as we move towards expansion, and as we move towards a bigger life, the opportunity is to be willing, right? To be willing to look and not beat myself up for missing that zucchini. Like, I actually sent a picture to my neighbor saying, oops, forgotten zucchini, right? But and trying to figure out like, okay, what kind of, maybe I'll make zucchini boats, or maybe I'll, do something different with it that I might not have been able to do with this tiny little zucchini. I can now make it into something beautiful, and something nourishing for my family. So those are my thoughts around our inner landscape and the necessity to pay attention to the things that have maybe grown a bit out of proportion internally that you may have overlooked and forgotten. I'd love for you to join us as we move forward in our meditation circles. They happen every week online. You can find that information out. We'll link it somewhere in this space. And also, if you join our newsletter, you'll get right to your inbox. You'll get all the information of the things that we're up to. We're trying to build and grow and strengthen this community of people who are really searching for an expanded life, right? So not just wellness, but expansion. Not just I'm okay and everything's fine and I don't have a lot of inner turmoil, but now that I'm feeling settled, now that I'm feeling good, what's my calling? What's my purpose? Where am I being led? And that's the community that we're building, and we'd love to have you join us through the newsletter, through the meditation circles, or continuing to watch these YouTube videos. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Bye.